Let's dive into what Trump is doing to the markets. Do we get a pump? Do we get a dump? We'll break it all down for you. Let's get started. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that's Tangem. This is where self-custody begins. If you're brand new to crypto, you should check out tangem.com, and you can start your self-custody journey. The way it works is once you buy crypto on an exchange, you can take that crypto and send it to an address on a wallet that you hold, like a little credit card, in your pocket. And then that works with your phone. Very easy to set up, super secure. So check out tangem.com, get the 3-card set to get rolling. Use a little bit of our discount there by using the code down below. Let's start off right here with this tweet, which is the White House saying that President Trump will be making an announcement at 3 p.m. We don't know if this is going to be a positive one. So by the time this video hits, it's possible this announcement will have already taken place. I'm thinking it's got something to do with China and most likely rare earths, which is the biggest issue right now that we are facing. There has been a lot of deals being struck, obviously, with Argentina and many other countries now as we start to move into alternative sources for these rare earths. And that's kind of the rubbing point right now between Xi Jinping and Trump. Bitcoin whales right now, though, are putting in some leverage on Bitcoin's shorts ahead of this announcement. So this guy's been about 80% right across what has been played into the market over the last little bit. A couple of points to kind of call out right here. Traders say 107 is the next line in the sand. I would kind of agree with that. We're holding it around 110, a little over right now as of recording. But we are getting some pylons in this short, and it is happening again. And this point right here, this is an insider that just opened a $400 million short ahead of Trump's major announcement today at 3. So is he right? Is he wrong? Does he know something? All these kind of things are playing into the market. I think the longer outlook here, guys, is if hopefully you're not playing swing trades and day trades like this, and you're looking at the long-term picture, that'll play into it. But I will give you some some ideas as to maybe where it could be going here as we break it down. One thing to consider is the performance of the Trump administration and the holdings. If you look at all the different organizations here, these guys are absolutely killing it in comparison to even Nancy Pelosi. So Trump administration outperforming all other hedge funds. Every investment is up 80%, 2 investments nearing 150%. So crazy times there. Other things that I want to get to is this right here, because this is where we get into market sell-offs. Trump's statements have caused major market sell-offs and volatility in the crypto space. Our poll says the markets will tank at 3 during his announcement. So maybe he is setting everybody up for a negative news when in fact it could be positive news. Many of the things that are leading to that is all drilled around the government shutdown, which is another possibility that we could see maybe something brewing with the government shutdown and reopening. Remember that Trump was the last president that did a long-term government shutdown more than 35 days. Here we are looking right now towards November 16th, which is still quite a ways out as we get into the holidays, and a lot of systems getting a lot of pressure now. The shutdown is underway, and it's cutting a little bit deeper. This is another thing that Trump is hitting on, and he's hoping on a deal for everything when it comes to the optimism with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. And this is ranging from, obviously, the rare earths, soybeans, all that good stuff. Likelihood is Trump is utilizing a lot of the technology and the finance infrastructure here in the U.S. to put some pressure on China. And I think the other diversification, and this was something that was surprising to me. I went back and did some research on rare earth materials, and back in the 70s and 80s, the United States actually was one of the world's leaders in rare earth material refining, which is the problem that we're dealing with right now with China. And of course, that was all in a company that resided in the state of California. Guess what shut it down? It was the EPA. So again, heavy regulation put us in a bad spot that we are now faced with within China. Other things to kind of look at right here, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is also going in with Jameson Greer, who's traveling ahead of Trump on Wednesday. Their first stop, Malaysia. This is going to be with Chinese officials again. Again, rare earth shining up again. China versus the globe, it's not the U.S., and I would agree with that because rare earth materials have fallen off dramatically in terms of export, in terms of number coming out of China. So be on the lookouts, guys. We could see either some good news and I know it's one or the other, of course, but I feel like it might be good news at 3 p.m. Going forward, or at least some positive news that could possibly correct the markets. Markets are trading as if every escalation automatically de-escalates. I think that's just the nature of Trump in general. He has such an unusual tactic that he's had forever. I don't know why that anybody is surprised that this goes all the way back to The Apprentice. So it's not as if you couldn't anticipate what's been going on. Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping by October 31st just spiked, and this is what I want to show you, because this would give me hope that we might see a market up trend. And coming in from a 75% chance to immediately a 91% chance. So the market knows and is watching a lot of these indicators that could, and Trump is kind of this way, where he starts to soften the rhetoric. Then there's a meeting that gets done. This is a typical political foray that they're going back and forth with. I want to go over to a quick clip that will kind of recap some of this. Take a look.
Yeah, Scott, that's right. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just stopped and talked to some reporters here on the North Lawn of the White House. I asked him about that report earlier today that the U.S. is considering software curbs for China in retaliation for the Chinese action on trade. And this is tricky for investors, Scott, because as you weigh all these headlines, you have to figure how much of this is sort of trade saber rattling ahead of the meeting next week. And how much of this is really actually on the table and actually likely to happen. We know that the president is departing for Malaysia on Friday. We know that the Treasury Secretary has said that he'll be having meetings with the Chinese delegation as early as this weekend. So all of this next couple of days in the run-up to those meetings could be both sides jockeying for position in those talks, saying, hey, if you're coming at us with this, as a reminder, we have that response ready to go. But no, the whole vibe from the Treasury Secretary was this meeting is on. But you did hear the president yesterday raise the prospect, sort of unprompted, that the meeting could not happen between himself and Xi Jinping. He said sometimes people might pull out of a meeting. They might say things are too nasty to have a meeting right now. The president said, but this is just business, so it's not too nasty. So it sounded like the president was suggesting that Xi Jinping was the one who might pull out of the meeting before it happens tentatively at the end of next week. White House officials will point out to you that no meeting has officially been scheduled.
All right, so a couple of points to kind of understand there is it boils down to one thing. Trump's wanting to make a deal. And I think it's just a matter of them finding something that works for both China and the U.S. And he continues to make deals. I mean, he's obviously made a deal with TikTok. We've got a lot going on in terms of trade tensions that could be released. But I think Trump is in a position right now where he is forced now his own hand around rare earths. Not necessarily his fault, but definitely he's having to deal with it. Other things that play into the market, of course, the FOMC will be doing a live stream next week. 6 days out there. Now we've got a potential 50 basis points cut by the year end are increasing. And many people still looking at, could we see a 75, meaning a quarter and then a 50 or a 50 and a quarter? That's kind of what we're looking at between now and December in terms of information. The Fed is kind of flying blind here right now. So the blackout continues, no September job reports, no inflation data. I'm curious to what's going to come online when we come back with the government and we see at least this data starting to accumulate in. Does this change the Fed's position around all of this? So the one thing to consider, though, I want to go back to that tweet real quick, is this right here. Even worse, the Fed has lost access now to ADP's private payroll data, and that's 20% of the U.S. private workforce, so that's gone dark as well. ADP is a big deal because ADP is real numbers coming from American payroll. So this is a factor that Powell does not necessarily have in place. If you look at the poly market right there, boom, you've got almost a 100% chance of a quarter coming in for next week. And of course, that raises as you go into December. We hold at right around 80% on December. And then even in January, which would be the third cut, end of January, it's still about a 50-50 on no change versus a 25 at below, which is about 42% right now. So let me jump to this tweet right here. Breaking President Trump pardons Binance founder CZ. Absolutely, in my opinion, unacceptable. If this guy was that bad to get a federal offense like that, and it was proven, and it did, and the deals that he made with the Justice Department, all of that, and he's already done the time. I mean, so what benefit is this other than giving him more business access benefits globally? Just not necessarily in my bag in terms of a good decision. Adam Cochran kind of broke it down because CZ admitted these sanctions and sanction violations, so he knowingly did this. And then remember that there are some partnerships here. He partnered with Trump's World Liberty Fund, partnered with Dominari Holdings, that's Trump's sons. He invested in projects in YZI Labs, formerly Binance. Now this is a CZ partner. Then he was pardoned by Trump less than a month later. So apparently it's pay for crime. It's the only thing I agree with Adam in that point, but I think this is something that anyone that is in this kind of role, because I mean there's guys out there, people that have done much, 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 much less and are not getting presidential pardons out there. Other news that are hitting is this news right here. Gold is back above 41.50, the low correction. Many people kind of thought that was a little bit of a manipulation, both on gold and silver. They're testing out a handful of support levels, and we are starting to look at maybe 4,000 being the new floor. And then with that, Peter Schiff drops another bomb, which I think is important. Take a look at this clip.
So you might as well just have tokenized gold and have something that's stable to the price of gold. I'm probably going to launch my own token at some point. I'm building out a platform on Schiff Gold right now. No, but so you can buy gold at Schiff Gold, right? On an app on your phone. We won't send you the actual gold. The gold will be stored in a vault that you own and you have it, and you'll be able to transfer ownership of that gold to other people, through the app, and you could use it, as a means of exchange. You can pay or be paid in gold
instantly,
and you can redeem it in physical gold, or eventually you can redeem it in a token. I'm also going to give people a debit card.
All right, well, I mean, Peter, that's great. This is out there right now. Paxos, of course, has it. Tether, of course. Now, granted, the interesting point here is you've got a physical network that could have the capacity to do physical delivery. That's an interesting component that could make a big difference here with Schiff. CZ, of course, attacked this, saying the obvious. Most people in crypto know this. Most people not in crypto understand tokenizing gold is not on-chain gold. It's tokenizing trust. Some third party will give you gold at some later date. It's a trust me bro token. Now, if this is audited, there's a handful of products out there that are audited with physical trust. And those, I agree, would not be trust me bro. I don't know where Schiff is going with this. We'll try to get him on the channel to talk about this, because he and I actually, the last time he was on the show, we were talking about tokenizing gold and why he didn't just do that. And now here he is going in on maybe making that a reality. Another thing that you have to consider right now going into the next leg up, because this could happen over what is and will be, I think, an elongated cycle of what we're seeing right now, and that is how we're going to see these cycles rotate. Part of this comes from the money market area, and of course you're looking at almost $7.5 trillion now sitting in money markets. This continues to just skyrocket. Look at that crazy number right there, guys, continuing to move. This was an interesting take, and this is one that I agree with because I've seen all of these things happen. Let me showcase this tweet right here. This was by Shanaka Pereira, a researcher on this, and what he's talking about is this 7 trillion detonator. Now, there's a few things in the article that I want to get to, but the big one is this right here, the historical pattern nobody really remembers. 98, of course, this all was the tech bubble, Fed cuts. We had a 1.3 trillion money market funds activate. 2003, housing mania began, activation. 09, right after the 08, economic crisis, another thing hits, another rally, and a 3.8 trillion come into the market, and now here we're setting out 7.4 trillion. So there's a lot to look at, and there's many triggers that can play into this. So this gets very interesting because the real question, and everybody will say, well, Paul, not all of that's going to be going into risk assets. And I will say, yes, of course not. And it's possible that people could be waiting for the Fed to activate. Smart money is probably trying to move ahead of the puck, trying to activate either in Bitcoin, ETH, while it is somewhat recessed, and move in before we start to see rate cuts coming down money market funds decreasing and people looking for spots, because at that point you've got risk assets starting to climb. So in some cases you could be up as much as 10, 20, 30% in a difference of a trade just because of you've moved early. So a lot of things could play. Where I think this will go is early money will win. Let me jump over to fear and greed. This is another indicator that could be setting up for kind of that long-term play that I'm getting at, is money coming off the sidelines, what we're seeing regulatory front, what we could see in trade, what could be happening in the economy, all correcting. Look at fear and greed holding right now at around 28. Last time you start to see these dips in these red zones, jumps in, jumps out, jumps in, jumps out, and then we start to see these moves upward in terms of fear and greed. That might be where we could be nearing the bottom. So pay close attention to the markets. Hopefully you're not going to be in a position where you have to sell an asset, because assets, look forward, guys, look forward into multi-year holding. That's the way to go. Another thing that could get us out of this slump is, of course, Clarity Act. And here is Brian Armstrong talking about that. Take a look.
And so one date we heard floated was, let's try to get this markup done before Thanksgiving. I think that there's 90% of the issues are already aligned on and agreed, and there's draft text going back and forth, a lot of great cross-functional collaboration happening. That last 10% are the remaining issues, and everyone committed to get in the room together and work it out, and hopefully we'll see some draft text or get it out of committee by Thanksgiving.
Okay, so when I look at Brian right there doing that interview, he has very unusual face response there. Do you guys see that? I mean, have you seen other interviews where he's kind of had that smirky smile? Does he know something here that this could be a reality? And this would be huge. If we get something by Thanksgiving, that would be huge. Another factor that plays in to where this could all be going is this right here, Fidelity. A brokerage account. If you are in Fidelity right now, you probably noticed something new. It's called Solana. It's now in there. It's tradable. Now you can't move it in and out. It's, it's a brokerage account, but you can buy it. So you're getting exposure now. And there are many people that will never move out of Fidelity, and they're going to buy Solana here. And the other thing we'll probably see is other tokens. So you can kind of read between the lines, just go to the big ones, and you'll probably see the next few that will make their way into the Fidelity app. I anticipate that's going to be coming for sure. Here's Nick Dukoff. He was talking about the Mag 7, and he added one to the list right there: Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Tesla, Mag 7, Solana as the Mag 8. I'm going to disagree with that. Solana's a great product, great project, love it. Got lots of use case, super efficient, but I think the real Mag 8 would have to be Ethereum flowing into this group, only because it has so much of network effect in really across all sorts of areas, including what could be tokenization, real world assets, you name it, we're leading there. Here's Tom Lee. I think tokenized real world assets will go from 34 billion, notice the number here, 34 billion to 300 billion in the next 12 months. That's almost a 10x in tokenized real world assets. All of that happening on ETH. That's why I think that is the Mag 8, if you want to call ETH a Mag 8. All right, guys, if you're not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in there. You can, of course, join by the link down below. It's very easy. Follow me on TikTok. We're going to do TikTok today. It's official Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.